Let us pray. Bow our heads. Our Father in heaven, once again, we thank you for another day of grace and mercy. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We ask you, Father, to come down in the midst of this meeting to guide and direct us, do the right thing for the citizens of Cartersville, Georgia. And we'll be so grateful. We ask these blessings and all blessings in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Ulmer, the roll, please.
Carrie Vaughn, Ward 1.
Here.
Jay Steph, Ward 2.
Here.
Carrie Ross, Ward 3.
Here.
Calvin Cooley, Ward 4.
Here.
Gary Fox, Ward 5. Taffrin, Ward 6.
Here. Thank you, Meredith. First order of business is the approval of our council meeting minutes from August the 2nd. Council, you've had these well in advance tonight, had an opportunity to look them over. Now would be the chance, an opportunity to make any additions or corrections to those minutes. If there are none, a motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. And the minutes are approved unanimously. We have Mr. Menino, if you'll get us started out with our appointments to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The terms of a couple of the members of the HPC, or Historic Preservation Commission, are expiring. That is Vandy White and Valerie Holt. These are 3-year terms. If reappointed, they are willing to continue to serve, and your approval of these appointments is recommended.
Okay. Any questions for Randy? If there are none, a motion's in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointments.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And minutes are approved unanimously. Randy, right back at it, please, with AZ 18-02.
Thank you again. This is a proposed annexation and zoning to the MF14 zoning district. This case has been properly posted and advertised. Appears to be no conflicts of interest, and it was reviewed based on the standards for exercise of zoning powers as stated in our zoning ordinance. The subject property is at the corner of Rolling Springs Road and Corinth Road. Currently, in the county jurisdiction, it was converted to a duplex. With that, the owner owns, I believe, all 3 parcels north of this, may even own the parcel to the east of this. And with that, he's looking to bring it into the city jurisdiction. Planning Commission did recommend approval of this, subject to it either remaining a single family or duplex, still with the MF14 zoning district. So if they choose in the future to do something at a higher density, they would have to come back before you to change that condition of zoning.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Menino at this point? Thank you, Randy. And at this time, I'll open up a public hearing for the annexation portion of this request. And anybody wishing to step forward, speak for or against, may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing for the annexation portion. I'll open up a public hearing for the zoning portion of request 18-02. And again, anybody wishing to step forward, speak for or against, may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. And we will take, council will take this up for final consideration at our next meeting. Randy, we'll move on to SU 18-04, please.
Thank you again, Mayor. This is a proposed special use permit request for Calvary Chapel River Oaks Church. They are looking to locate in Cartersville Plaza Shopping Center. Our zoning ordinance does allow religious institutions to go in the general commercial as well as several other commercial zoning categories with a special use permit. With that, they meet the criteria for special use, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this application.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Menino on this item at this time? Thank you, sir. I'll open up a public hearing relative to case SU 18-04 and ask anybody who wishes to step forward and speak for or against to step forward and speak at this time. And if you would, sir, if you will state your name and your address for our clerk, please.
Okay. My name is Grady Clark, pastor of Calvary Chapel River Oaks. My address in Cartersville is 22 Stardust Trail, Southeast, and that's Cartersville 30120.
Thank you.
And just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Mayor and the council, for considerations of our church coming here to this community. We've been in Acworth for the last 5.5 years and have really felt that after reviewing where we are and where the Lord's taken us, we feel this is the right place for us, and we're excited about moving up here.
Okay.
So we're available for any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Thank you, Grady. Anybody else wishing to step forward and speak for or against file case SU 1804 may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and again, council will take this up for final consideration at our next council meeting, which is September the 6th, the first Thursday in September. We'll move on, and Mr. Porter, you've got the next several.
Just got the next one first, Mayor.
Next.
I'll give Hannah an opportunity, but downtown photo fence art exhibit. This is a way to have outdoor art about basically down here in Founder's Oak parking lot. As a recommendation by the DDA to allow this to happen, and recommend this approval to the City Council.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Porter on this item? If there are none, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
I'll second that.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dan. Ms. Surratt, come on down.
Good evening. This item is our annual memorandum of understanding with the Department of Community Affairs, which governs our ongoing accreditation as a Main Street program. This will be our 32nd year as an accredited program in good standing, and staff recommends this approval of the MOU.
Thank you. Any questions for Hannah on this MOU? If there are none, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second that motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries
you.
unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Jones, only one item for you tonight. Slipping.
Now, here's the sad part. I'm sure all of you will recall the approval of a memorandum of agreement with ARC at our last meeting. This document you have before you actually should have been included with that, but was not included in the package transmitted to us by ARC, thus we are here tonight. What it is an engagement letter with King and Spalding. King and Spalding is the group that represents this group that we joined last week in matters of water storage issues with the Corps of Engineers in Allatoona. They require this document to be executed for a variety of reasons, primary of which is it allows them to shield communications under attorney-client privilege, and to allow us to join the group and to be privy to certain conversations that they don't deem ready for the public yet. So by executing this document, we will be included completely in that group and can begin work to that effect.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Bob on this? Questions, comments, or motions?
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Bob. Come on down, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This first item is an intergovernmental agreement with Bartow County that establishes waste disposal rates at the landfill. We haul about 14,000 tons a year to the landfill, and we haven't had the last IGA we had with them expired in 2016, so this is a couple of years overdue. The term is for 3 years. The rate in the first year is $27.03 a ton, with a 5% increase each year for year 2 and year 3.
I know we had talked earlier about doing something that was more based on the inflation rate or something like that. That was something that the county wasn't amenable to.
Well, they're giving us their best deal, and so I think this is as good as it's going to get.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your hard work on that. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please, Tommy.
Thank you. This the next item is a agreement for it's two parts. One is a request for the signal, and the other one is a communication service agreement for a traffic signal at Main Street and Canyon Parkway. There's a racetrack going in adjacent to McDonald's at that intersection, and they are going to pay for the signal to be installed as part of their construction. And this is a standard form that GDOT requires from the local government just to make sure that we support a signal going at that location.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on this item? If not, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue on, Tommy.
Thank you. This next agreement is a memorandum of agreement concerning the Transportation Gateway Grant that we received to do landscaping at the exit ramps at Main Street and I-75. The total ended up coming in under budget. It came in at $38,209.50, and GDOT requires us to sign this agreement in order to get reimbursed for that work.
Okay. Questions, comments, or motions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. While Michael Hill's making his way down, we are going to have to add 3 items eventually tonight. Let's do that right now.
Make a
Chair,
motion to add 3 items.
Thank you.
Second motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
3 items added. Thank you, council. Mr. Hill, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I have a proposal I'm asking for you to approve. It's with GeoHydro Engineers of Kennesaw, Georgia. This is for construction material testing and special inspection services. This is be inspecting the site that Mr. Lovell had spoke of where our meter station will be, and it'll be during the duration of when this work is going to be going on that we're hoping you approve later. It's the cost of it's $4,349.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments? If not, a motion.
Make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank
carries
you.
unanimously. Thank you, Michael. Let's see, Dan, you're back up. That's why I thought you had more than one.
First item here is a Pond & Company contract modification for our new gas facility. We had to get them to do some revised civil plans for upstream, downstream modifications out there at the site. That was $8,000 on the civil plans, and then as we were going through the plan design, after they had completed it, we noticed that a couple pieces of our equipment are not on the generator, backup generator, and that cost $1,200 to modify the electrical plans, total of $9,200, and I recommend approval of this modification.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue on, sir.
Workers' Compensation Subsequent Injury Trust Fund. This is an annual fee we have to pay based on our claims from the prior year. This year, total is $11,708.53, and I recommend it for your approval.
Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second that motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, Dan.
Next item is new storage appliances for servers and applications. We've had some issues just over the past few weeks. We put this in the budget. We're trying to get along to the 2020 SPLOST, as I explained in the work session, not able to replace some of these servers. Actually, they're heavily used with our Cogsdale utility billing, the GIS, and other facets of the city operations. Total cost of these storage appliances and for our servers and stuff is $275,707.05. $30,000 of that will come from the 2014 SPLOST because it's related to the GIS, and then the other $245,000 of change will come out of the fiber budget.
Any discussion? If not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Go on,
Next
Dan.
item is the ArcGIS Enterprise Standard, which is something we need to add on to our existing GIS system. We've been using part of this, but not the Enterprise. The Enterprise platform costs a little bit more. That's why we're recommending this as it come, again, in 2014 SPLOST funds, a total of $19,420. Recommended for your approval.
Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Final item. from
Yes,
Dan.
sir. Purchase of mobile mixel parts. We had a cement truck damaged by another party. We were able to get Progressive Insurance to reimburse us $10,000 and some change. The garage will replace this. The mobile mixel parts is a supplier of this materials we need for $7,681.72, and that's recommended for your approval.
Okay. Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And Jason McCann, you're up next, and you're going to handle your two items and that one added item that you have, please.
Yes, sir, I will.
Thank you.
Good evening. Our current tasers are currently not supported by Taser anymore, so I'm requesting to purchase 50 new tasers for patrol officers and criminal investigators. The total cost is $70,800. They have a program that breaks that up into 5 years. First year is $14,800. The next 4 years is $14,000. Request that we do that. We're going to be paying for these items with federal asset forfeiture money.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Chief McCann on this item?
You mentioned earlier that if they're not supported, you can't carry them. Is that?
That's exactly right, because, for instance, they could go longer than they should go, and it could injure somebody.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions or discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
If not, a motion's in order. We have a motion.
Have a motion, sorry. Make a motion.
I second a motion.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Continue, Chief.
next is a request to purchase 7 new vehicles, 4 patrol vehicles, 1 CID vehicle, 1 training vehicle, and 1 animal control vehicle. All those vehicles, except for the animal control vehicle, which is $21,410, will be paid for with federal asset forfeiture money. I'm also requesting a total not to exceed $240,000 to equip all those vehicles. And that will be paid for with federal asset forfeiture money as well.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? If there are
And Robert Laurie is the low bid on that, I'm sorry.
I should have remembered that.
Yeah.
I'm going to mention that as well. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And we did have the one item added relative to Celebrate UFED purchases.
Yes, sir. This is an item that we currently use. However, we do not have the technology. We depend on other law enforcement agencies to use this technology, which we use to download cell phones, tablets, and iPads. It will streamline our investigative process if we have this technology. So I'm requesting to purchase this now. And the reason it's added on is if we purchase it before September 1st of this year, we'll save approximately $6,000. The total cost, including a standalone computer, is $22,755.26. And we are going to be using state asset forfeiture money to fund this. It also includes training, and it's something that will help us resolve criminal cases.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? If there's none, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries
Thank you.
unanimously. Thank you, Chief. And just as a point of housekeeping, Greg, you've got the next 2 items, and I'm going to want to handle those 2 added items, and then that way, Tom, when you come up, you'll just be up and we'll bounce you around any, okay? Thank you. Mr. Anderson, you've got the next 2, please.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. We received, took quotes for the replacement of a air conditioning unit at the Cartersville Gymnastics Center. This is one of 7 units that was first installed in 1994 because of the Olympics. I'm recommend the low bid from Penley Heating and Air in the amount of $5,646.85.
Any reason why we only got 24 years out of that?
Well,
that's
actually,
really good.
actually, still got a couple more that's still working.
Wow.
So we've replaced most of them, but still got a couple more.
That's great. Any legitimate questions or comments on this item?
No legitimate.
If not, the chair will entertain a motion. Carrie?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please. Greg.
Yes, sir, Mayor. This is part of our GEO bond projects. This is for the Dillinger Park tennis, Dillinger Park basketball, and the track. This is for the resurfacing, the repair, resurfacing, and restrapping of those. I did it in 3 different work scopes. The first one, the tennis courts are the worst, and and use the most, so I wanted to try to put the most money in those. So I asked for a work scope of put a Permaflex asphalt on those, and those bids came in too high, and it's exceeded our budget. I did another work scope, which included a crack repair system, which we used previously, and we're very pleased with it. And then I used another work scope where they just came in and color coded and restriped and left the cracks as is, and they would keep growing. So my recommendation is the crack repair system. This will be replacing as well as replacing the nets and net posts at the Dillinger Park, working the crack repairs at the 440-yard track and basketball. And then also I've added, which was not on our original Parks and Recreation Department list for this, but the tennis courts at Hicks Park. I had spoken with, or David Arch had originally told us that it could be used for bond money if it was a recreation project, which is what this is. If we do not do this, these courts at this time, these have not been resurfaced since since I've been director, since 96, and they're in dire need and would not be able to be addressed again unless we do it at this time. So I'm recommending adding those courts with those for a total price of $251,000. And I'm asking that the mayor be authorized to sign any and all related documents.
Okay, questions for Mr. Anderson on this? If there are none, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second the motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you,
Thank you.
Greg. Chief Carter, if you'll handle your item, and then Mr. Lovell.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for adding this item. Our tower truck is starting to display some issues with its powertrain. We carried it to the garage. They reviewed it, recommended that we carried it out to a third-party repair. We did have Matthews of Cartersville take a look at it. They have identified the problem and provided with us an estimate of repair, cost of $5,578.01. However, until they actually tear into the engine and see what they got, they may actually have a few other issues. So I respectfully ask for an amount up to, but not to exceed, $6,500 on this repair.
Okay. Questions for the chief? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Lovell, you've got an item on relative to the gas department.
Yes, Mayor. The city recently sent out bids for the site grading and access drive construction for the Transco delivery point. We received 4 bids back. They ranged from a low bid by Summit Grading Services of $154,695 to a high bid of Earthbound Construction of $298,352. This original project was anticipated to cost about $300,000, and we are now going to be close to over $500,000 in the total budget for this construction due to various equipment and the fact that these bids came in a lot higher than the city had actually budgeted for. Under state law, we are allowed to negotiate with the lowest qualified bidder to see if we can work out an arrangement where we can accept their bid because this project was over budget. The gas department did negotiate with Summit Grading Services, and we have negotiated a new bid price of $97,300 from them by the city being able to do some services in-house. Therefore, I'm recommending y'all approve the new low bid from Summit Grading of $97,300 as negotiated since it was over budget.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lovell on this item? If there are none, then a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Reinhardt, you've got the next bundle for us.
And Mayor, I'm gonna surprise Mr. Ronhard. I'm gonna do the first one, which is the amendment of the audit. And basically, due to some Justice Department regulations, before we take over doing the audit for the drug task force, and the county will be doing their portion as well. We need to include that within our audit, so we've asked our auditors to amend their initial scope to include that. I'll recommend that for y'all's approval.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Would you like to handle the next one, or can Tom do that one?
I was gonna say the same thing.
The city's finances are in wonderful shape, Mayor. Have a nice day.
Honorable Mayor and Council.
That's your pleasure, Mr. Tom. Go right ahead.
With the new city manager on board, Regions Bank Corporate Trust, who is our lease pool holder, needs to have our updated signatures. The signatures that are on the current documents include Jerry Milam, who's been gone for several years. And with that, I am asking the council to approve the mayor to sign the enclosed incumbency certification for the Regions Bank Corporate Trust.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. The next are all similar in nature.
Yes, they are. This is millage rate time of the year. So, Honorable Mayor and Council, City of Cartersville School Board has approved the rollback rate of 15.674 mils for the 2018 property tax rate. City Council approves the City School Board's rate for the city residents where all the property taxes collected are used for the Cartersville City School System. I recommend the approval of the Cartersville City School System property tax millage rate of 15.674 mils for 2018, and this is by chance or by way of the rollback rate.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please.
Yes, sir. The Cartersville Business Improvement District, or BID, is made up of downtown Cartersville business districts. These businesses have been self-assessing a property tax over the past several years to raise funds for the downtown area. The Downtown Development Authority works with the local downtown businesses to use the funds to improve the downtown area. DDA requests that the council's approval to use the rollback rate of 2.21 mils, and I recommend the approval of this Cartersville Business Improvement District property tax millage of 2.21 mils for 2018.
Questions, comments, or motions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item.
And the next one will be the property taxes for the city of Cartersville M&O. Property tax collections are used for the general city government operations, which include your police, fire, recreation, public works, etc. The proposed millage rate of 2.259 mils is also the rollback rate. I recommend approval of the Cartersville M&O property tax millage rate of 2.259 mils for 2018.
Thank you. Any discussion? Not a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Last one of this
And
nature for you, Tom.
finally, the last millage rate we have to deal with tonight is the Cartersville Geo Recreation Bond. And if you remember, in November 2014, the city was authorized by the voting of the citizens to issue bond debt to do certain projects that Greg has mentioned several times in the past couple of years. The bonds were issued for the 10-year payback period. In order to make the scheduled bond payments, the city is assessing a property tax millage for the 2018 year of 0.969 mils. This is also the rollback rate. I recommend approval of the Cartersville Geo Parks and Recreation Bond tax millage rate of 0.969 mils for 2018.
Any discussion? And if not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Now it's time for the finance report. Tom?
We will be looking at the June 2017 and comparing them to June 2018. And first, I did want to note, because these numbers will change as the audit is complete, and we make certain general, well, not general, but certain entries. They are reported currently, and as I've been reporting all year, on the cash basis. And like I said, as our year-end process is completed, these numbers will change due to the methods that we have to do. We make bond accruals, depreciation expense, accrued revenues, and things like that. Do you need a copy?
Yeah, I got one. Go right ahead.
In the general fund, revenues increased over last June by $438,000. Expenses have increased by $1.5 million. And the two areas of revenue that I look at on a monthly basis in the general fund are the local option sales tax, have a nice increase of over last year by $280,000. And the building permits and inspection fees have an increase over last year by about $33,000. In the water and sewer fund, revenues increased over last year by $853,000. Expenses increased by $6.34 million. This is due to increased personnel expenses and increased capital expenses. Remember, in the month of June, we did pay for some land that was needed for the water and sewer department expansions. In the gas fund, revenues increased over last June by $2 million. Expenses decreased by $269,000, and this is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and increased cost of purchased gas, along with increased debt service, and was offset by a larger decrease in the capital expenses. In the electric fund, revenues decreased by $2.0 million. Expenses increased by $67,000. This is due mainly to increased personnel costs, increased operating expenses, increased cost of purchased electricity, and this is coupled with a decrease in capital expenses. In the stormwater, revenues increased over last year by $64,000. Expenses decreased by $62,000. This is due mainly to decreased personnel expenses, decreased operating expenses, and decreased capital expenses. In the solid waste fund, revenues increased from last year by $203,000. Expenses increased by $292,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and increased capital expenses. We'll go to the back page for the fiber optics. Fiber optics fund revenues increased over last year by $196,000, while the expenses increased by $507,000, and this is due mainly to increased operating expenses and increased capital expenses. That is my report for the financial year closing 2018 June.
Subject to the audit, which may.
Subject to the audit, yes.
Adjust this a little bit. I do appreciate the little breakdown. I think this may be what Gary asked in the last meeting, where you kind of break out the dollar amounts on each of those, so I appreciate that.
You're quite welcome.
Modification. If any of the media wants this, they can certainly have a copy of that, but, or anybody else for that matter. But are there any other questions or discussion on the finance report?
On the very last page of our book, which is for me somewhat sideways, our cash position changed drastically from May to June. What did I miss?
The water fund is a big change. There was about $6 million hit to that when we purchased that land. Are you talking, I think, hold on a second, I got my.
For all of you that are out there thinking we're doing nothing, this is on page 220.
Restricted cash change?
Yeah.
That's because the water and sewer bond closed in
Yes.
June of 2019.
I am. I was missing something. Got it. All right. I was gonna say, man, we got a raise.
I wish we did, but we have to pay that back also.
We did. We just
It's all going out.
Pay it.
Exactly. All right. Any other questions for Tom on the finance report? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other business that needs to come before council this evening? I do want to make note and welcome our school superintendent, Dr. Mark Feuerbach, who has decided to come by and see us tonight. And I think it's worth noting, we went through, we go through an awful lot of material, and if people are coming by or watching this or trying to figure out how fast we're going on this, council gets this information much earlier in the week and has a few days to review it and ask questions and kind of get things sorted out. Our work session is at 6, which is also a public meeting, which is kind of a dress rehearsal. We kind of go through and ask any other questions, and so when we get to these meetings, we're able to cover an awful lot of ground like we did tonight in a relatively short period of time. So it is the work of the city. We go through it rather quickly. We like to do it in a positive manner, but it is certainly given the time and consideration that it is due, and it's not done haphazardly. So just wanted to make that comment, since it's probably, Jace, I don't know, it's probably the longest agenda we've had since you and I have been on council.
And I was trying to get it moved fast. I was over there.
Well,
it was a long one.
If there's no other business that needs to come before council this evening, Chair will entertain a motion.
Well, I'd say,
Oh.
I have one comment to make.
Go ahead.
Just about the tax rate, I think, going to the rollback and looking around at what some other communities are doing, especially with our school board even, just those rates are, I think, it's a lot of work to do that, and I appreciate that work. It's input by all those different entities to do that for our citizenry and their tax bill.
Well said. Anyone else? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Good night.